Hello viewers and welcome to my new video. Today's video is another part of the series on how to be in a band, and this time I'm going to be talking about approach to practicing. And last time I spoke about songwriting, and actually this is directly linked to that, and I actually touched upon some of these ideas in my previous video. So if you haven't seen it yet, or if you haven't seen the rest of the videos from the series, I will leave a link in the description below. And today is about practicing. So you have different options when you are in a band, and I said some of that before, like I already mentioned. So for example, if you are all based in the same geographical location, then one of the ways to practice is simply to appear at the rehearsal room at an agreed time, date and time, and then you all go in and you kind of start practicing your songs, and that's kind of the most common, or the sort of old school way of doing that. What's really good to implement, however, is actually some practicing of the songs in between the rehearsals, because once you get into the rehearsal room, and for example if you also pay for that time of being there, and if you maybe pay per hour, then I think it's important that you do some homework away from the rehearsal room. So effectively, if you have a certain part that you are struggling with in that kind of thing on the guitar, on the bass, and you want to sort of get it right, get in the pocket, then it will be advisable to do it away from the actual rehearsal room. So once you arrive at the rehearsal room with your bandmates, you are actually ready and well prepared, so you know all your parts and you can actually play them, and then all you work on at that moment is basically gelling together as a band, as opposed to you as individuals being able to play your individual parts on your individual instruments. The second approach, which is slightly different, and again I alluded to some of that in my previous video, is that if you don't live in the same geographical location, you may be able to use some of the available technology these days to be able to practice effectively. So for example, when it comes to songwriting, one of you might be writing a song or a riff and you want the other people to learn it, or you are remotely, or even if you do live in the same geographical location, it's about you then learning your parts, like I said, before arriving at the rehearsal room. Well, that's even before you don't actually have to show a particular part or a particular song in the rehearsal studio, then go back home and practice it, then return to the rehearsal studio, because you can actually save yourself time by recording what you're doing at home, sending it to your band members, then they can practice these or their individual parts at home as well before arriving at the rehearsal room. So that's another thing, using technology, recording things at home, sharing them through cloud or email or whatever that might be, and that way they can also get to it quicker, learn the songs, and then it will save you time. If you live in various geographical locations, however, then obviously that allows you to do that practicing all separately. But these days there are even solutions that have been developed, and I think some of them have been popularized during various lockdowns, where you can actually jam or play together with other musicians online. I'm still about to test this approach, I must admit. I haven't actually done this yet. I have started learning about it, and I've started sort of watching other people's videos, and it's really interesting. And obviously this is all about your Wi-Fi speed and things like that. That's why they recommend that you use an actually Ethernet cable when you do that. But I'm not going to spend time on explaining this right now, but I'm just going to tell you that there are already some programs that you can get that apparently allow people to play music together and sort of even seeing each other like on Skype, but actually being able to play, and apparently the latency is very low. on that if you go through your Ethernet cable, and you should be able to do it with relative ease and sort of still be in sync with all these other musicians. But again, like I said, this is something I'm still about to test, and I actually might do a video on this once I've done that. Like I already said, practicing particular parts is very important. So for example, if you are working on a particular solo, for example, for a song, and that solo is causing you some issues, then just focus on that solo. You know, don't try to be playing the entire song all the way through and then get to the solo and then practice the solo and then move on and from there. No, just focus on that particular part. And you know what, this actually applies to both the entire band and the individual practicing at home, because I've often, or we, when I was in bands previously, we used those techniques where we would arrive at the rehearsal room and we would just focus, like say half of the time of the entire practice, on just one particular part of the song, especially if we weren't getting this right, like all together as a band. We would just concentrate and repeat and repeat and repeat and carry on and carry on and carry on working on that one particular bit. Another good tip is if, for example, there are particular vocal parts where, say, you have two vocalists like we did in you know, Manifest or even Sonnet 13. We had some particular vocal lines that we needed to practice together. So the drummer wasn't really needed. So actually what we did, so only me and the bass player, who was doing the other vocal, arrived at the rehearsal room, and we practiced, obviously. So we would play the music that was pre-recorded, our own songs, only music, and we would then just practice those vocals and polishing those vocals until we got them, you know, right in the pocket where we wanted them to be. So that's another good idea. So those are my recommendations, tips on practicing, and please leave me a comment if you have some other ideas, or perhaps you have used some other approaches and techniques. I am very curious to hear from other people about their experiences and their recommendations. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.